in child protective services, and they won't give them back to their loving families because they're making money.
This is a legal system that you're going into. And if you don't know the rules, you will be chewed up and spit out.
If I could say anything to a mother who just got their children detained, you're in a crisis. Yeah. Life feels like it's over. The most important thing is regaining custody of your children.
The child welfare system at its core is designed to protect children who need protection, okay? And that's key, is who need protection.
So social workers, out of fear, will remove more children rather than only remove those children that truly need to be removed.
It's okay. It's okay.
This isn't someone stole your car. Someone broke into your house. This is someone took your child, your flesh and blood.
It doesn't say on this order that it was not proven. It says untrue. True. I immediately knew that, okay, well, this ain't over.
Signs? Did I miss them? Did I catch them? At this point, I honestly don't know.
Families only get a finite amount of time to reunify.
I came into this field to help families, not destroy them.
The difference between the criminal system and the child welfare system is substantial. You have more rights as a criminal than you do as a parent.
All right, and we're live. Good evening and welcome to Fight CPS, the Civil Rights Struggle. I'm your guest, Amanda Cisco, and tonight we have Colette Lopez. How are you tonight, Colette?
Very well, thank you, Amanda. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. As I said last show, guys, I am in the middle of a move right now, so please excuse my background and my condition. I've been working all day. I'm sweating, just all that moving craziness. But it's a good move. It's exciting. So glad I could make it tonight still. Now, Colette, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Colette? What do you do? If you don't want to share any personal information to identify you, that's fine too.
No, that's fine. So I'm in Massachusetts, and right now, presently, my I call them my nephews. They're not really my blood, so I'm a family friend. So I have two boys, two brothers. They're 9 and 10 years old. We were able to go to our local probate court last May after they had been with us for about a year and finally get permanent guardianship of them until they're 18. So we have them, and then along came their mother got pregnant again, and she gave birth last August to a little girl who was immediately taken into the system from the hospital. So we've been fighting to get her out of foster care.
Now, was there a reason why she was taken from the hospital?
Yeah, mom relapsed.
Okay. So she tested positive.
Yes, I'm not sure exactly what she tested positive for, but there was definitely, that's why she had signed the children over to us prior to that. She had said she was signing the children over to us so she could attend treatment for her drug addiction, but that has yet to happen, unfortunately.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very disheartening. So we went through all the stages with DCF, filled out the application to become foster parents. We had already in the past, Amanda, had 2 kinship placements with the same department. So 2 other times in the past, say 10 to 12 years, we had children in our home through kinship. But for some reason, they do not want to give us this child. And I don't understand why. We have our siblings. So we're just trying to keep the children together. We went
Right.
through
Okay.
the.
Now
I'm sorry,
you have guardianship over them now? Or
the
you
two
did?
boys, correct.
Okay,
No,
now
we
are
do.
you related to them?
No, not by blood.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm sorry. I just wanted clarity. So thank you for that. Okay, so but go ahead with what you're saying.
So we went through the application process. We were pretty much immediately denied for reasons that were non-existing. In the denial letter, they had that we had a German Shepherd dog, which we hadn't had in like 7 years. So they didn't come out and do a home study. They wouldn't even talk to me on the phone. They just denied us, sent us the denial letter. And at that point, we hired an attorney, unfortunately, because we had to.
Right.
It's a juvenile case. You can't get into court without an attorney. And even when we hired an attorney, we haven't been able to yet get in court. So we've gone to 3 hearings, and the judge has denied all of our motions to intervene. However, at the time we went to court 3 months ago, so we have another court date coming up in next month. So we were there 3 months ago, and although the judge denied the motion to intervene, she did speak to me and my attorney and said that she would keep us abreast to the next court date and let us know what was going on and make sure that we were notified of the next court date. So let me just give you a little background on the baby. So like I said, the baby was immediately taken from the hospital and placed in foster care. So we never got a phone call, even though when the boys came to live with us, they were involved with DCF. So they had an open case. So they had a caseworker that I was in contact with on the regular. She'd come out to visit the boys. So she was well aware of us. But at no time did anybody ever ask us to take the baby. I had even called DCF when I found out who the investigator on the case was and left a message for her as well as the old caseworker, because they had closed the boys' case when they came to us after like 3 months, when they knew that the children were safe in our home and that things were going well. So they closed the case. But then 3 or 4 months later denied us for placement of their sibling. So it's just really been a very frustrating year and a half. So now the baby is now 1 year and 6 months. And
has the baby been in foster care for the whole time?
She was originally in foster care, and when she was 5 weeks old, the paternal aunt and uncle on dad's side applied to have placement with them. They got placement. They actually got emergency placement. So she was placed there, and we were visiting her there weekly. And after about 6 weeks in their care, they called and gave DCF notice and dropped the baby off back at DCF.
They dropped the baby back off?
At DCF, yes. Okay, ready, Amanda?
All right.
3 months. So the baby went back to the, thank God, foster home she had been in prior to that. And that foster parent had children of her own, and the baby was going to daycare and getting sick and coming home and infecting her children. And that foster parent was specifically a temporary foster parent. So she wasn't used to having babies for 1.5 years.
So she's had the baby for 1.5 years.
Well, she had the baby for another like 3 months.
Okay.
After aunt and uncle gave their notice to DCF and said we can no longer care for her. And the foster mother finally said, I give my notice. Like, she's We can't do this anymore. So that was
So this whole
DCF's
time,
second
this little
chance
infant
to come.
baby is literally being passed around. Like, we're talking about a kid, a little baby, an infant who's only weeks
Right.
old, is being passed around from house to house while you've been fighting this entire time for placement. And they're denying you for reasons that are non-existent, not valid.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. I can imagine how frustrating that must be. Because it seems like you're really adamant on keeping this family, like these siblings, together. Would it be safe to say that's probably the most important thing to you in this case?
Absolutely.
Now tell me about the visits with the boys and the baby when they were at the paternal aunt and uncle's house.
We would go over weekly for about an hour. And visit. Now, mind you, the aunt and uncle also have 3 children of their own, the boys' cousins. So it's tough to visit when there's all that going on. It's a lot of stimulation for the kids. The youngest one has ADHD, so they want to play with,
Yeah.
And the baby was just an infant, so she wasn't doing much except laying around looking cute, basically.
Right.
So yeah, it's been tough, and I've requested that the siblings. Well, first DCF wasn't even giving the children visits. There was no visits at all for like the first 6 months.
Now, was it because of COVID, or were there other reasons? Did they tell you why they were denying visits?
No, they don't give reasons why. They just don't do it. You know how they are. They don't.
Yes, I know how they are, but they're not supposed to be like that.
Right. So I continued to push and push and push, and finally, late last year, they started doing 1 visit a month for 1 hour with the children.
So that's what they started as, just once a month.
Yes.
And then it gradually went to weekly.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. Correct me.
No, the only time that the kids. That's okay. It's confusing. The only time that the children saw their sister more than once a month with DCF was when for the 5 weeks when she was placed with the aunt and uncle. We would go over like for an hour 1 time a week. But that only lasted for like 3 weeks until the aunt and uncle gave their notice and gave the baby back to DCF.
I see.
And then the baby went back to foster.
Now, was there anything wrong with little baby when he went into care? I mean, was there like a reason? Did he have like oh my gosh, it's been so long since my kids were littles. What is it called? Croup? Not croup. That's a sickness. You know when they have colic.
Well, yeah, she definitely had some digestive issues.
Possible withdrawal, maybe.
Yes, but she wasn't on any. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's really horrible to witness. But so yeah, she was cranky. I think a lot of her crankiness was from her gut issues, which the youngest boy also had when he was born. So mom was on methadone when she gave birth to. No, I'm sorry, not methadone. Suboxone. She was on.
It's basically the same thing I hear. Or they're really similar for the same thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I know Subutex is supposedly what the doctors give pregnant women because it doesn't have a certain chemical in it that the Suboxone does have, I guess, the blocker. But the other 2 children were born addicted and did have to be on medication to be weaned off. Lola, I'm sorry, the baby, the little girl, I'm not sure because I wasn't around and DCF hasn't given that information to me. But I know through the aunt, because I was there and spoke to her, that she was definitely having some issue.
Okay.
And I'm sure that's to do with why they gave their notice to DCF But
yeah, here you
so the
are.
baby,
You have experience dealing with the children who were born addicted, but they still wouldn't give you this child, even though you were experienced, you
in
were
my
equipped.
background,
Wow.
and we've been kinship placement with the Department of Children and Family on 2 other occasions. And my background is in early education and childcare. So, I mean, it's insane. So it gets better. So the baby goes back to foster care for about 4 weeks, 5 weeks maybe. And all of a sudden, the foster mother gives her notice. So another opportunity for DCF to contact us and say, here you go. We can't bounce this baby around anymore. We really want her to be with her family and her siblings. So let's give it a shot. No, what do? They send her back to the aunt and uncle that originally gave her up. So that's where we are today. We're fighting in court.
Do you ever just
with the aunt and
wonder?
uncle.
Do you ever just wonder what the fuck is going through these people's heads? So you're a foster
Every
parent, correct?
Correct. So now we're now
how often would you say, I'm curious, I've never had a foster parent on my show, so welcome. Thank you for everything that you're doing. You seem like a wonderful foster mother, and my heart goes out to you. Thank you so much for wanting to take care of this family. I mean, you're changing lives. But I'm curious, how often, being a foster parent, do you get frustrated with CPS?
Oh, daily. Like that's to say to people, like, I'm on their side. We're like supposed to be a team.
Yeah.
But that's not how they treat you. They do whatever they want. So when it's good for them, if they want it, the other 2 foster children that we fostered, if they were calling us, they wanted us, they needed us, so they were calling us. But in this case, we wanted the baby, and that wasn't what they wanted, because the aunt and uncle had originally said from get-go that they wanted to adopt the baby. But at that time,
But
the
they gave
goal
the
was
baby
mom was
back.
still doing. I'm sorry.
So is baby girl with mom with aunt and uncle right now? Right now.
She is.
Okay.
Yeah. So they put her back there as a temporary foster home.
When's the last time you
But
had
they're
any
in-
correspondence with the caseworkers for baby girl?
We see her so visits were just increased to every other week.
Okay.
For still 1 hour, still super. So
Okay.
I see her twice a month.
Now, do you have like a plan, a case plan? Is there any talk about in the future placing the child with you, or are they just
No.
are they talking to you about what their goals are? I mean, because you don't just get visitation just to have visitation.
Well, when we hired the attorney, we applied again to DC to become foster parents after we were denied the first time. And that application sat in their office for 6+ months before they finally said, okay, you've been approved. That happened last December. But the aunt and uncle have been approved too. So now we're going to hire an outside agency, a local adoption agency, and they're going to come and do a home study on you. Oh, and by the way, before DCF even did, when they had denied our application the first time and refused to come do a home study at our home, the judge ordered her probation officer to come out and do a home study at our home, which they did, and we were approved. So now we've been approved 3 times. So we were approved the last time by the adoption agency that DCF hired to do our home study as well as the aunt and uncle's home study, and then they were going to have a placement meeting to determine the best placement for the child.
You
Well,
already have the child's 2 siblings. The aunt and uncle dumped the baby off after, what, a handful of weeks? I would say
5
the
weeks.
choice is pretty obvious.
But I feel that DCF placed the baby back with the aunt and uncle so that they could then say when we go to court, well, the baby's now developed a bond with the aunt and uncle because she's been there for 5 months.
You
know what I mean?
Do you have any idea why they're doing things this way?
I do not. I honestly do not. Except because that's what the adoption worker wants to happen. But they have 3 other children. The mother's already overwhelmed. And she was already overwhelmed and told DCF that and proved it by returning the child. So I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but it sure feels like something is.
It really does seem like that, doesn't it? In my personal case that I can't really say much about, it's almost that feeling like you walk into the room and everybody's like kind of in on this joke except for you.
Right.
Except you're the butt of the joke, And you're just like, well, damn.
So true.
Yeah. I had to stop asking myself why at one point. Oh, excuse my fur baby. I guess you can see him now. But I had to stop at one point asking myself why, because I was losing touch with reality. It's a question that there's not really a clear answer to, and we'll kill ourselves trying to figure out what's going on in these people's fucking heads. But it just seems like I talk to so many families, I hear so many cases, and to hear that the same thing is going on the foster care end, I don't understand the logic behind the decisions that they make. And almost every case has the same theme of the things that these people are doing to families, even if it's not biological families, like I would consider you and these 3 kids, like you guys are a family. I'm really sorry to hear that you're going through this. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. But when you say it's enough to make you lose touch with reality, it really is, like, to the point that now I'm like, when do you say enough is enough? Because it affects the children tremendously.
Oh yeah. Now, as a foster parent, what are some things that you've witnessed when you say it affects the children tremendously? Like, what are some things that you as a foster parent observe when a child is separated from their families? Maybe it could help some of our viewers who have families who, children were taken away from.
Sure.
Because as a biological parent, once your child has been removed by CPS, there's like an iron curtain that separates parents from having any knowledge or contact with this whole different world that their kids have been thrown into. So, I mean, just out of curiosity, you don't have to answer the question if you don't want to.
No, that's fine.
But the question was, what are some things that you have noticed that brought you to that notion?
Yeah, sure. So the children, they don't understand why they have a baby sister and she's not with them. Like, I, as an adult, can't understand it. So how in the world do you expect them to be able to understand that? You know what I mean?
Right. Yes.
Just trying to explain to them that, unfortunately, we don't have control of that. DCF has control of that. And they're in counseling, of course.
That's very good.
We just try to be as honest as we can,
Yeah.
and support them when they fall apart, which they do from time to time. It's a lot to deal with as a child. Can you imagine? Like, as a 10-year-old, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is. It's heartbreaking. Last Christmas, they said all they wanted Santa Claus to bring them was their little sister.
Oh, that is so sweet and so sad.
in their head, they're like my aunt and uncle, who they did have a relationship with prior to being removed from their parents. Not a close relationship, but they'd see them a couple times a year and play with their cousins. So try to figure that one out. Like, why are my aunt and uncle, if they really care about me and they know we want our sister here, why are they fighting that? It's just mind boggling. It's enough to rip a family apart.
It really is. Now, are you still going to court at this point?
Yes. So our last court date, which was November, December, January, February, March. Yeah, actually, I think it was December. Was the first time that mom had shown up, and it was set for trial. But so mom showed up, dad didn't show up, and the aunt and uncle showed up because now they're the placement foster parents for the time being, so they have a right to be involved with the case. So, and me and my husband were there, and they were going to terminate mom's rights because she hasn't done any of her services. She hadn't, like I said, she hadn't shown up for any court dates. So, her lawyer, I think she has a court-appointed lawyer, but I know we hear horror stories about court-appointed lawyers all the time. This woman is actually a godsend. She actually is really trying to work with the mom, and she has talked to me on several occasions and given advice. She actually recommended the attorney that we ended up hiring. Not that I think he's the best thing, but it's some help rather than no help, because I am totally blind to, other than what I hear on the shows, of what to do in cases like this. So I think we have a good shot of getting in front of the judge next month. But so DCF had their placement meeting there, which was 3 weeks ago. We got a call, and of course they picked the aunt and uncle.
CPS picks the aunt and uncle?
Yes. For the child's permanency plan.
Okay. But this hasn't been heard in court yet?
Not the permanency plan.
Okay, so we're waiting for a judge to make a decision to approve or deny.
Correct.
Now, most of the time, they will go with what the city is recommending. I do want to warn you about that. In my experience, from what I've witnessed, I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving legal advice. Disclaimer. I don't start law school until next year. But do you and your attorney have a strategy for how you guys are going to face this?
We don't. Only because everything I've asked him to do, he tells me we have to wait. We have to wait. We have to wait. We have to wait for DCF to make a decision. Okay, so now all the decisions have been made as of 3 weeks ago. So I said, I want to file for emergency custody and file a 388. The circumstances that have changed is that we've been approved now, not only through the DCF department, but also through the adoption agency. And DCF's own regulations say that they will place siblings together.
Yes, they're supposed to.
And is there not, in Massachusetts, there's a law, it's called the Sibling Bill of Rights, that was actually passed more recently, that if the DCF accepts federal funding, they're supposed to keep siblings together.
Yes. Yes. That is great that you are up to speed on that as well. I haven't personally seen this. siblings bill of rights, now is this like is this across the country or is this just in a particular state?
Certain states have passed it.
Okay.
Massachusetts is definitely a state that has passed it. So we do have the sibling bill of rights.
Okay.
It's an actual law.
You're in Massachusetts.
Yes.
I used to live in Rhode Island.
Did you say where?
I used to no,
you
I
did?
used to live in Rhode Island, in Newport.
Oh.
It's kind of close
Yeah,
to
we're in
Massachusetts.
Plymouth.
I'm sorry?
It's very close. It's very close.
I love it. Oh, New England is so beautiful. I would visit the cliffs and private beaches. Oh my gosh, Newport's amazing. I would love to go back up there. But anyway, I'm sorry, I digress. I want to circle back
in
to
Virginia
where
now?
you told me. I'm sorry?
Oh. You're in Virginia now, right?
I'm in Virginia now, yeah.
Virginia.
Yes, I'm in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Well, technically Norfolk now. I've moved. So Norfolk is one of the older cities. Some pretty cool tourist spots over here. No, but anyway, back on track. So we do have a few more minutes, but I want to go back to where you said that your attorney kept telling you to wait until CPS makes a decision. Why do you need to wait for CPS to make a decision? Why is your attorney putting you guys on the defense rather than the offense?
I have no idea. He says every time, like, and I've pushed him, Amanda, like said, listen, this is what I need you to do. And he will not do it. I asked him to file a 388 and to file for immediate, temporary and permanent custody. And he keeps telling me, oh, his last excuse, oh, we have a court date in March.
Yeah, that's only a couple weeks away.
Sooner.
You only,
well,
I mean,
now it is, but
I'm sorry, I'm getting frustrated for you. Oh no.
So yeah, it's very frustrating to the point where I'm now at like, well, when do we say enough is enough? Like, when do we put the baby's needs, right?
I can't
in
give
front
you
of
legal
everything
advice,
else.
but I can say what I would do if I was in a similar position. If I was in a similar position, I would immediately ask the courts for continuance. The sooner the better, right away. Like, continue this court date as soon as you can. Everything is just going to be frozen and moved to a further, to a later date. If I was in that position, I would ask for continuance right away. Make sure I get that, and start letting my fingers do the walking to find a new attorney. If you, I mean, because the clock is ticking on this case right now. Time, like every minute counts.
Where we haven't, I agree with you, but where we haven't been granted the motion to intervene, would we be able to file for a continuance? Because we're not legally part of the case yet?
I don't know if I can legally answer that question. I'm not sure if I have the legal knowledge to be able to answer that question in depth. So you have not been joined as a party officially. That's right, because motion to intervene means, okay.
Correct.
Okay. That does change things a little bit, I think. Yeah, because if you're not a party on the case, you can't file motions. Okay.
Yeah, we're not even allowed in the courtroom.
Let me
talk to
let me do some research. Let me reach out and see if I can find some more information. And then off of the show, I will touch base with you and we can get some more clear answers for that question. I'm sorry I couldn't answer that. No, but let's
No, I appreciate that.
Of course. Yeah, that falls under the realm like more of legal advice, and I'm not authorized to provide legal advice in that depth, nor do I have the knowledge for a question of that level. So we will definitely meet sometime next week if that's okay. Do you know when your court date is, Colette?
Yes, March 29th.
Okay, let me write this down here.
And when I was on Georgette's show, Relatives Fight CPS, and I was able to talk to Attorney Davis.
Yes.
He did recommend an attorney here in Boston, Attorney Seaver.
Okay.
But unfortunately.
Okay, looks like we lost Colette, guys. Let's just give it a second to bring her back on. Here we go. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Am I back?
Yep, you're back.
I can.
Lost you for a second. Okay,
Sorry.
so you said unfortunately you couldn't hire this attorney because
I've called Attorney Seaver. At least cannot get through his secretary.
So you haven't been able to reach him yet.
Unfortunately, that's been a dead end. No.
I'm sorry to hear that. Let's meet. Let me do some digging, and I would like to give you a call around this time next week, perhaps after the next show, and see what resources I can dig up for you. And then in a couple weeks from now, I'd like to have you back on the show to update us on your progress. Does that sound good?
Certainly. I would love to. Thank you so much, Amanda, for all the work you do.
Of course, Colette. And I'm sorry I couldn't be more help tonight and answer your questions. And also you can call, you can be on the radio show on Saturday on KABC. I'm sorry, pardon me?
I can't never get through. I wait on hold. I can't get through to the radio show.
See, I have a number to the station. I just call straight to the back. Okay. Well, I will add that to my list. Let me add that to my list of things I'm going to do for you and see if I can schedule you to get onto the radio show. Would you be available this Saturday?
That would be absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Of course. So I will help look into that for you as well. Well, Colette, thank you so much for being on our show tonight. And I like to end my guest stories the same way. So being a foster parent going through a case with CPS like this, what would your advice be to other foster parents that are trying to do the same thing or a similar thing?
Have a good support system. And don't believe the CPS workers because they have their own agendas. And even though you're on their side, you're supposed to be a team. It's not like that in all cases. It's just not. So I would say it's very important to have a good, strong support system behind you because you need it. You absolutely need it.
Oh, well, thank you. And then lastly, now that we live in the age of technology, videos like this, can be immortal. So if little baby girl were to see this video one day, and she knew that you had been trying to fight to keep her with her siblings, is there anything that you would want her to know? And anything that you would like the two boys to know?
Just that we love her and that we will continue to fight for her until we can't fight anymore. That was my promise to her two brothers when we started this. So that's what we will continue to do.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Well, Colette, I want to thank you again for being on tonight, and I look forward to touching base with you next week. And I wish you the best of luck.
Thanks,
I hope
Amanda,
everything goes in your favor. Of course, but your homework, you do have one homework assignment, and that is to call as many attorneys as you can, interview as many attorneys as you can, and see if you can secure it. Because, you know, I would hate to see you run out of time. You know, these cases are ticking time bombs, and once the clock runs out, it's almost impossible to put more time back on it. So, do your best this week to,
I will do that.
try to find an attorney. So hopefully when I talk to you next week, you found a good one. And I will look into our resources and see if I can find any others in the Massachusetts area that I can possibly refer to you. Oh, Colette, you froze up on me. All right, everyone. Well, we are reaching the end of our show for tonight. It's a little bit shorter today because I have got a lot to do still, as you can see. But I'm so glad I got to see all you guys tonight. Thank you, Colette, again for being on our show. And you can tune in every Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 10 p.m. my time. Also, I do CPS current events every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Thank you so much, Colette, again. It was a pleasure speaking with you, and I look forward to touching base with you soon. All right, everybody, and I will see you guys next week. Good night.